Hello everybody and welcome back to the Connects Marble League. Today we have the 9th event of the tournament. It is collision curling. All 4 marbles on 2 teams will roll down into the middle. They'll collide in the middle and try to get as close to the middle as they can with 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 80 and finally 100 points for landing directly in the middle. Team with the most points will move on. Looking at the current standings, the Emerald Sprites are just 1 point ahead of the Cardboard Cutouts in second. We'll see how those standings look after this event. First up, we've got the Graveyard Ghouls and the Surface Striders. Down they come into the middle, and it looks like the Graveyard Ghouls, they look more central than the Surface Striders do. Both teams lost 1 marble there at the top left corner, but I believe the Graveyard Ghouls there, they have 160, 2 40s as well. Surface Striders, they only get 90 points with 3 30s, but the Graveyard Ghouls will be the first team to move on. Second heat here, we got Crimson Royalty and the Emerald Sprites. Crimson Royalty, they did win the Marble Collision League. Let's see how they do in this event against the Emerald Sprites. That looks like it's pretty close. Crimson Royalty did lose 1 marble off at the bottom, but I think they look a bit more central than the Emerald Sprites do. Emerald Sprites, they also got a marble with 0 there. Crimson Royalty, they have 2 marbles on the 60. Will that be enough? Yes, it will. 140 to 110. Crimson Royalty take the win over the Emerald Sprites. Third heat now. Ice Angels and the Scarlet Sins. Down these teams come into the middle, and looks like those are both going to be some very small scores. Both teams, they have... The Ice Angels have 2 marbles on the 0. Scarlet Sins have 1 marble on the 0. Is that going to be enough to just give them the win? It's going to be close. Yes, it is. 60 to 50. Both very low scores, but the Scarlet Sins have done enough to move on. Heat 4. The Fiery Opals and the Exoplanets. Fiery Opals, they were 3rd in the Marble Collision League. Will that talent be enough? Here they come into the middle. The Exoplanets. That looks very impressive. They've got a marble on the 50, 1 on 60, and 1 on 80, I believe. Look at that score from the Exoplanets. Not on the 80, no. That marble is on the 60, not the 80, but still very impressive. 60, 50, 50, 40 gives them 200. Fiery Opals only get 90, and the Exoplanets demolished them. Heat 5, Cardboard Cutouts and the Mossy Mice. Cardboard Cutouts, they have a chance here with the Emerald Sprites being knocked out. How will they do against the Mossy Mice? Looks like a good start, but the Mossy Mice, they curl that back amazingly, and that looks like they've got 3 60s. The Cardboard Cutouts, it seemed that they knocked them back quite far, but the Mossy Mice, they do an excellent job bringing that back into the middle. What's it going to be? They're going to get 220. The Cardboard Cutouts 150, and that will give them the win. Next up, Necromancer Knights and the Antarctics. How will these teams do? They come into the middle, and that looks like it's going to be very close. The Necromancer Knights, they've lost 1 marble on the 0 there. Antarctics do have all their marbles on the board, but they're less central. I think the Necromancer Knights might just have barely done it, and yes, they have. 120, 50, 50, 20 to the Antarctics, only getting 110. The Necromancer Knights move on. Locust Plague and the Revolutionaries now. Down these teams come into the middle. The Revolutionaries, they have 1 staying very central there. Locust Plague, they've lost 2 marbles. Revolutionaries have all of theirs on the board, and that looks like the red team will be taking this win. Locust Plague, they got demolished there in the collision. And yes, Revolutionaries by 90 points, 180 to 90. They take the win. And in our final heat, we've got the Kitten Castle and Valiant Velocity. Down they come into the middle. They spread out, and the Valiant Velocity, they bring it back. That's a marble on 100. They're going on the 60 as well. Meanwhile, the Kitten Castle, they've lost 3 marbles. They only have 1 on that 30. The Valiant Velocity have pulled off an amazing win here. 200 points to the Kitten Castle's 30. Very impressive from the Valiant Velocity. Kitten Castle, meanwhile, that's a terrible result for them. They will be last place. Meanwhile, the Antarctics, they do manage the 9th place, followed by the Ice Angels, Emerald Sprites, Surface Striders, Cardboard Cutouts, Locust Plague, and then Fiery Opals. But here we go with the first quarterfinal. Valiant Velocity and the Scarlet Sins. The Valiant Velocity, they just had that crushing win. Let's see if that can translate here. Big hit there against the Scarlet Sins that knocks out 1 marble, but another marble has managed to bring it back to the 80 mark, despite losing that one. This one's going to be close. There was another Valley Velocity there, but they got knocked into the 60 by that one Scarlet Sin. Is that going to give them the win? No, it isn't. The Scarlet Sins, they just barely managed to hang on 140 to 150, and the Sins move on. Here we go with the Crimson Royalty and the Revolutionaries for the second quarter-final. Down they come into the middle of the Crimson Royalty. They stay very, very central. We got 260 there. They have lost a marble, though this is going to be quite close. Revolutionaries, they do look quite central with 40s and 50s. What's the verdict going to be? The Crimson Royalty just barely 160 to 150. Another 10-point difference is what makes it. These games have been very close. Graveyard Ghouls and the Mossy Mice now. Down these teams come into the middle. Mossy Mice lose one, but they do look quite central compared to the Graveyard Ghouls. I'm not entirely sure, though. Kind of set up in kind of line formation. Graveyard Ghouls, they also did lose one with a 0. Who's going to get this win? It's going to be the Graveyard Ghouls. Just barely 90 to 80. The Mossy Mice can't hold. The Graveyard Ghouls move on. Final quarter-final. Necromancer Knights and the Exoplanets. Down they come into the middle. Necromancer Knights, they've lost 3. Exoplanets have all 4 marbles on the board. It doesn't look like the greatest score, but the Necromancer Knights have only 1 marble there. And so that is going to be another strong win for the Exoplanets. The final score, 130 to 40. Exoplanets move on to the semi-finals. Looking at the standings from 5th through 8th, Necromancer Knights are at the bottom spot. All the other teams, they only lost by 10 points, so the Revolutionaries with their score of 150 do take the 5th place spot. First semi-final, Exoplanets and the Graveyard Ghouls. Both the teams, they've been doing quite well. Down they come into the middle of the Graveyard Ghouls. They've lost 1 marble, and I think that's going to be quite close between the 3s. But the Exoplanets, they've got 1 more marble on the board, and that looks like it's going to be enough to give them the win. Yes, it is 110 to 100. That extra marble there on the 10 that's what makes the difference. Graveyard Ghouls will lose it. Second semi-final, Crimson Royalty and the Scarlet Sins. The Royalty, of course, won the Collision League. How they do against the Scarlet Sins here, and that looks like the Royalty have lost it. Scarlet Sins, they got 1 on the 80 and 1 on the 60. Crimson Royalty, they have managed to keep all their marbles on the board this time, but they're not close enough to the center. And the Scarlet Sins will take it with a massive 220, despite the strong 180 of the Crimson Royalty. This does mean they'll go to the bronze match against the Graveyard Ghouls. One of these teams will be able to step on the podium with the bronze medal. Which of them will it be? The Graveyard Ghouls, they've lost a marble, so have Crimson Royalty. But the Royalty do look quite central there with a 40 and a 60. Looked to be quite close, but the Royalty did manage to stay in the center more than the Ghouls did, and that's what gives them the win, 120 to 90. Crimson Royalty take their bronze medal. But we are here with the final, the Exoplanets and the Scarlet Sins, both teams that have been doing quite well so far. Down they come into the middle, and the Exoplanets, they've lost nearly everything. That's 2 marbles off, with 1 marble in the 20 and 1 marble in the 30. The Scarlet Sins, it looks like all their marbles run at least a 30, and that means the Scarlet Sins are going to take this win, 50 to 150. The Scarlet Sins win the Collision Curling event. A hard-fought fight there by the Exoplanets, just could not manage to get the win, with the Crimson Royalty taking the bronze medal. Looking at the standings after the conclusion of Collision Curling, the Emerald Sprites have slightly increased the lead over the cutouts, but the Scarlet Sins are now knocking on the door of the top 2, just 8 points behind first. Meanwhile, at the opposite end of the standings, the Ice Angels are now the first team to be completely unable to win the league. They have a slim chance of still landing on the podium, but they cannot win. Next event I will see you for will be Bathtub Endurance, so I will see you then.